Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the MabsDevlog. This is for me. This devlog is about me drawing my next cover art for one of my songs. The song's name is Alaba la Silaba. It means like worship the phrase, I think, or the syllable. It's just like a play on words that's in Spanish. And this devlog, I guess I'm gonna talk about my new coloring style, or not really like my new coloring style, just something that I've been learning and that I've been trying to experiment more with. And this cover art exemplifies that a lot, or the most, I guess. um so yeah, I've been reading some stuff about coloring by the artist, I think James Gurney, I think that's his name. And he's a very good painter. He has very good books. I think he made Dinotopia. I don't think I know he made Dinotopia because he references that thing he made all throughout the book, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing he made, right? And but basically, he just talks about a lot of color theory and stuff. A lot of it went over my head because I'm a newbie at this stuff. I usually just do cell shading, but there was some really cool stuff that he did say that I enjoyed. Things like how where like the black lines in cartoons, for example, aren't really real. They're like a oversimplification of this thing that happens called the Terminator. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. I read it. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, put it on the comment section. But this is what I got. So the Terminator is like the black, like the darkest line anywhere, right? So you can look at like two walls, right, intercepting, and in the middle of those two walls, you're gonna see like the actual black line. It's a little hard to see, but you're gonna see that, right? You can make it out. Like in the middle of it, that's the darkest part. That's why it seems like two planes meeting, because you can see that in your eyes. Can see that's the darkest part. So outlines and cartoons and stuff, they're trying to imitate that, or like oversimplify it. So that's where cartoons come from. So that's like where they stand out against the background. That's their darkest line, the Terminator, right? But that applies to a lot of things, right? Because if you're actually shading stuff, where like the darkest part of the shading is not gonna be on the lower end of the gradient. It's actually gonna be right where the shading stops, right where it creates that Terminator and the planes change. That's the darkest part of that specific color or value, right? Because that's where the light is not hitting at all. Away from that, you get stuff like ambient occlusion, you get rim lights, and all this other stuff that interacts with the shadow itself. So all those things outside the edge of the drawing, after you pick where the light is gonna hit and you pick where the planes are hitting, that's gonna be lighter. Whereas towards the plane change is gonna be darker. I guess you can see it here in the mountains a little bit, where the darkest line, of course, is the outline, but from the outline standing outwards, you can see like some dark gradients that I'm pulling, right? Some filters, and it's so that the mountains themselves pop out more, and that looks really good. It makes things just it like identifies your foreground, midground, and background layers better, especially in an illustration like this that has so many elements. Like you can see the foreground being the little cactus at the front. Technically, the guy on the, which is me by the way, the guy on the, what's the called, the rug. You can see him at the front too, and then everything behind him is the midground, and then back there you can see the darkest or the furthest background being the sky, and then you get a little bit more background with the mountains, and then a little bit further you get see the Newgrounds tank and some stuff back there. But that's not midground yet. That's like background, right? But since you have all these different like levels of foreground, midground, background layers, you gotta make sure that they don't blend in together. Otherwise, you're gonna see the deepest midground blend into the background, and you don't want that, right? You don't want the deepest midground being this that I'm painting right now with the teeth cave whole thing. You don't want that to be messing in like with the background. Also, I don't know why it looks so crazy sometimes. I think that's Bandicam. First time using that. I used to use another thing that was very good, but made the process a little hard. Because with Bandicam, you just get 10 minutes videos, and then with that other thing, you have to record the whole thing, and then you get this like 400 gigabyte size video. So like, yeah, that's uncomfortable to work with. So yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that's a cool thing, the Terminator, and then you can apply that to a lot of things so that they pop up more. You're gonna see it soon. I'm gonna start shading now. And then the other thing I started doing is that since there are things that are darker in the shadows, like that's the thing, right? When you start learning about shading, you instantly think that it's just one color. Like it's just okay. So the lightest color being the flat color, and then you get the darkest color, and then the highlights. That's all you think. But really, things aren't that easy. Like even inside the shadows, there are some variations that you can work with, right? So here I'm gonna put this first set of shading that's meant to like give direction to the light source, the give some ambience to how it's lighted and how it looks. But you're gonna see that at the end of me shading this whole picture, with this first shading, it's still not there yet. It's pretty good. Um, at an earlier time in my career, I would have probably called that done, but now I understand that it's not done. Right after reading this greatly magnificent book, I'll get the name for it later. But just Google Dinotopia writer or artist, and you can see that you can see some things there, and you'll find it for sure. Understanding color, I think it's called. Okay, but yeah, sorry I got thrown off because I saw this newly shaded stuff. Like I shaded the foreground, it looks pretty good. Start shading the Mr. Maps character, and you're gonna see that like that looks great so far, right? But that could use another layer of shading that's gonna make the shadows pop harder. It's gonna make the overall image feel like more real, and that's what you're looking for when you're making art at all times, right? Like not realistic in terms of making it look like a person or having accurate proportions, although that is important. But there's this kind of realism that you can achieve with colors and lighting, mostly that lighting and shading and stuff, because you don't really need colors until like what I mean. You need colors, of course, if you use them right. That's great, but you can make some really realistic stuff with just having it be properly shaded and black and white, you know. But yeah, those little things, variations in the shadows and the shading, like don't just think that it's one color like in cell shaded stuff. Even in like really good cell shaded stuff has variation in those shadows. Like there's like shadows inside the shadows. I don't know if that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'll try to explain it or make a tutorial at some point or whatever. But yeah, just pretty much that. And then if you're using Photoshop, I'm using CS5, I think, just the one I have. Um, there's this thing called curves. Learned this from a guy in Newgrounds named Dave Rome or M Vero, I think. He's changed his name, but his name is Dave, but he used to go by M Vero, and now Dave Rum. And he taught me about these things with curves, and basically a curve is like it takes the like you can make it so that the darkest thing uh in your drawing can become darker, right? And just with using black or white, you can add those parameters, those parameters to your drawing, so that if you throw a whole line, everything in that line is going to become darker, but it's appropriate darker. Like if it's brown, for example, it's going to be dark brown. Um, but if it's gray, then it's going to be dark gray. And you don't have to choose between those two colors. You just mess with the parameters, and you get the colors that you need or the darkest shade that you need. You can do that with grayscale too, and then you don't have to redraw it again or reshade it again. You just did it with the curves with this grayscale palette, and then you color everything in, and it already has the shadings. So that's a little trick I use. I use curves. Look them up on Google. So like, look up Photoshop curves tutorials, I guess. Um, so yeah, you can use them too. It makes the work easier. Um, it just makes the work easier. You can use them with brushes to create neat effects, which is what I do right now. I'm in this whole square rectangle brush face, so I'm making everything with that kind of brush. Usually I use like different brushes or like a circle brush, but I'm trying to like vary up my style. So yeah. Oh, back to the realism thing. Yeah. So there's this kind of like level of realism that you can achieve with your drawings that make it look like an actual place, right? Because the lighting is good. It feels a certain way. It doesn't feel like that yet, but it kind of starts feeling like that, where it feels like hot. You can start feeling that it's a light sunny day. This guy is on a rug flying, and it's probably a hot thing. Like it's probably it if you went like with him on that rug ride, he'll probably be sweaty in a couple of minutes, you know. Um, but that's like you can only achieve those kind of things with good shading, which will make the coloring a good coloring too, right? I also like to throw in little textures while I'm shading, so not everything is with the black brush or with dark ink. You know, like you can use the shading itself to signify some kind of some textures here and there. You can see it on the like handle of the rug that it has some textures in there so that it feels like rope kind of, and then you can see some probably when it zooms out you're gonna see some texture on his pants and stuff, because yeah, things have textures, and the more that you can integrate realism, that's what you want, because you it's not realism in this in the way that you can't make cartoons, like no, but like realism in the way that shading hits certain light hits certain stuff and it shades certain stuff in a particular way. How if it's wood, it kind of like it has these lines where bark moves and breaks and all those things. If you add those things to your drawing, even if it's a cartoon drawing like this one, it's gonna feel like it's a real place somewhere in the universe, in this multiverse of dimensions. You know, like this place could be real because you can see the sky. You feel like it, the light is hitting from the sun. Like most of the lights in here are almost. I try to do all of them. Sometimes you mess up, you know, but for the most part, all the lights go towards that sun, which is that little yellow spot right there. And it also that makes it feel like it's a sun and not a yellow spot, right? Because you can feel this. It's a feeling thing. Like when you like, I don't want to compare myself to the masters, of course, but like they have these things called what was it? Implied lines, right? So where there's not an actual line there, but you still get to feel like there's a line because maybe a character is pointing that way or maybe he's looking that way. Well, this when you add the correct light source to stuff, it kind of creates this implied line too, right? Because everything is pointing towards that light source. So in a way, it makes you go towards that light source and identify it in your brain, like, oh, that's the sun, and that makes sense, you know. Um, I still haven't added, like, not in this drawing yet, the second curves shading. You're gonna see it soon, hopefully. Hopefully, I recorded it. I hope so. I'm just doing some highlights now. So, am I highlighting? How am I highlighting this? Is another color or just like? I think I make it. I made it darker. No, I think it's another color. Yeah, I'm just highlighting it with the curves. This is another curve that I'm using on top of the last one because, as you can see, I flattened the drawing as I keep going. It's a kind of a destructive process, but sometimes I don't really mind that. Sometimes that's what you need. Um, Kind of messed it up with this one because I wasn't gonna try and do a mental canvas thing. This whole 3D, 2D thing that's going around on Instagram and stuff. But since I flattened everything down, then I messed it up and couldn't really use it. Now you're gonna see me do the second shading part, and or no, this is still the highlight. Sorry, this is still the highlight. But even the highlights feel like drastically better because they're being contrasted by the shading, and you want those kind of things. Like the deeper that shading becomes, the more contrast you're gonna feel in those highlights. um yeah. I don't know why I went with a pink pink fuchsia what I think that's cyan. Is that cyan? I don't know. But that kind of fuchsia color, I don't know why I went with that color. I guess I just wanted to do something different. I'm tired of the reds and the black and white stuff. So yeah, um, pretty much coming up to the final, like final minute or two of the video, maybe, hopefully. I don't know. Okay, we're back. Yeah, coming up to the final, the last bit of the video. Look at that, it came back perfectly. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to leave any feedback below. I'm still trying to like figure out what it is that I want to do with this series. So whatever comments you may have, I'll gladly take them. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Share the video if you enjoyed it. You got something interesting out of it, maybe. You just like seeing me draw. I used to do that. Like I enjoyed that as a kid a lot. So yeah, bye. Follow me on social media. Peace.